It says I'm live, so hopefully I am. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for dropping over to have a laugh and a chuckle. Now, in the background, I've got Steve of SK Crafts. I'll bring him forward in a minute and let him wave to you so you can see it's not just a figment of my imagination, because we all have these funny turns.
Hi, folks.
I
am real. Look, I'm real. I'm real.
He's real. So if I put Steve in the background, he's going to keep me informed of what's going on. I'm going to change cameras so that you can hopefully, if I get the right one. There you go. These are 3 that I've made earlier on. You can all see the mushrooms, hopefully. This one, 8 inches tall and about 4.5, 5 inches diameter. Really, really gnarly top. Not the best to finish, but hey ho. One of my first ones. Just wanted to prove that I could do something bigger. Another natural edge one. What we know down the museum where I sell them as a widow's finger. I'm not going to say any more than that, but that's about 4 inches tall, 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches diameter. And this one in a more bland wood, it's a bit of ash. So to give it a bit of colour and character, put a red top to it. So 3 different ways, styles, designs that can be made. Let me chuck those out the way carefully. Gives me another pair of hands. So today, not a round one, but a fairly gnarly one. It's a piece of yew, and it's old yew. What I've done, I think you can see just about in the middle there, I've had the stem centre on one end. I've had a centre on the other end between centres and turned a tenon on it so that it saves a bit of time for us now. So all I'm going to do is whack that into the chuck. My chuck's got 2 tightening points, so tighten on them both, because it's surprising you're tight on one, but you can still get a tweak on the other one. So set myself up so that everything misses. I'm going to change cameras, so you should get a nice down view of what's going on. Now, turn the extractor on. It should be in the background, so you shouldn't hear any of that. If you can hear anything, Steve, let us know.
No, can't hear anything at the moment.
Don't think you can. These noise cancelling headphones are pretty good. So I'm going to make a start. What's the picture like for you guys?
It's a little bit fuzzy. Is that?
No, it's cheap.
Yeah. Manual focus. Oh, that's a little bit better. That's a little bit better,
Yeah.
Keith. Yeah, that's better.
It's a cheap old laptop camera until I get. I've got another one, if not 2, coming. I've been apparently treated for some work I did. We lost our. I lost my father-in-law beginning of COVID, and I made an urn for his ashes. So as a thank you, I'm getting a couple of cameras.
Nice.
Bit morbid, but hey ho.
Well,
does that take it out too much?
No, it seems okay, Keith.
You all right with that?
Yep, that looks good to
me. Right,
me.
okay. At least I can see what I'm doing. Right, I'm going to carry on. I should chat through this like Steve's not there, but he is there. I can hear him typing. So welcome to everybody. You're in Steve's control for a little while. I'll just break in every so often.
So, as always, guys, if you've got any questions, please put a capital Q in front of your questions, and then we can pass the questions over to Keith, and I'm sure with his knowledge he'll be able to answer anything you chuck at him.
Well, hopefully we can. All I will say before going any further is bevel on, not cutting, lift the handle, bevel on, cutting. Don't talk when you're chomping bits off. So make sure the bevel's rubbing all the time. I've seen so many videos on YouTube recently where they're not cutting, they're straight in scraping. Doesn't do the tools any good, doesn't do the finish any good. So a little bit overkill, but hey ho. Right, back to you, Steve.
Right, Keith, just quickly before you get too involved in that, can you move the camera back a little bit? We can't really see the tool doing its job, mate. All we can see is like the end of the piece of wood. Sorry. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, we can see the tool rest now.
Right, okay. Okay, there you can see it now. Right, sorry about that. It's all a little bit jerry-rigged, because this is only my third live, so it's quite a learning curve, but we're getting there.
Takes time, takes time.
Well, it's not an overnight thing. One or two people will have you believe differently, but it's good fun when you get going.
Everybody in the chat's just saying hello to everybody at the moment.
Yeah. So I've swapped over onto, I'm never sure whether this is a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, but it's a spindle gouge. Haven't sharpened it since last week, so, and it's cutting all right. And rubbing the bevel again, and you can see the way the shavings are coming off, and I can see the finish it's leaving straight off the tool. So,
So what sort of size is that piece of wood in Keith, please?
this one's about 4 inches diameter, or more 4 inches oval more than anything, because it's fat across the one side, but there's a branch inclusion, branch inclusion, branch inclusion. So there's two big ones and a small one, two small ones, and the center is back here somewhere.
Right.
So all I'm going to do is just see if I can get a little bit more of a dome on it, because all you do when you're selling these is the old ladies come in and they do that, rub the top. Oh, that's nice and smooth.
As long as you've got a smile on their face, you know they're going to buy it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, 9 times out of 10 they will. One of my best sellers down the museum.
Really. And what sort of price do you sell them for, Keith?
The small one that I showed you, the small tool one, the widow's finger, that's 6.5. The red topped one would probably go for 7, and the last big one like that I've sold, the really big one, that is more of a doorstep, and I think I got £15-16 for it, okay, if not more.
So designer maker's asking a question. What brand of tool is that?
It's a black handled. Oh, it's a Pro PM. That's all I can tell you. Can I? It's a Crown. It's got Crown on the other end that's well worn off, but it's a Pro. Can't get it in the camera. yeah, Pro PM.
There you go.
Down the other end, it's got
The Crown logo.
Crown. Yeah, but it's well thumbed off. It would have been so much easier to have a round piece.
It'll be such a challenge, then.
No, exactly. So I would imagine if we're doing about 650, 700 on the lathe. I haven't got a speed readout. It's an old Axminster blue M330. It's a lathe I bought from someone at club that was bringing it in to basically junk it. And I said, oh, I'll give you something for that. How much do you want? Oh, give us £20. Okay. So I nearly had his arm off.
Yeah, I bet.
That was without a motor. So the first thing I did when I got home or on the Monday was to ring up Axminster to see what they could do in the way of a power unit for it. Expecting them to say, oh, it's out of stock now because we've superseded the blue one with the white one, which they had at that time because I'd already got one. That's okay, I think we can risk that. There's a crack just there. You can just see the end of it. But no, Axminster come back and said, oh, we do now a variable speed one. Okay. My own style of tool. It's a 1/4 inch mortise chisel. So it's an old carbon steel mortise chisel. I don't know. You can just about see it there. I've got a flat grind on the right hand wing. I've got a radius on the left hand wing, and they're both tucked back, both ground at about 30 degrees. I use it solely as a scraper, but that gives me the opportunity to undercut the head of the mushroom. Pick up the edge. Don't be greedy and take too much. And the other thing with any tool that's got 2 cutting edges like this, use one at a time. Don't just go ploughing in and expect to cut on both. It doesn't work. It throws you out. So I'll get down to the bottom, use the other wing. Go back to the spindle gouge. Use the undercut now because I've got basically full bevel rub in there now. You can't see it very well, and I can't get a camera over that side to show you any deeper in there, unfortunately. don't tend to go in deep, and I tend to keep it at about a 10-15 degree angle, the undercut, just so that you can pick it up without falling off the square cut. So many people cheat, parting tool straight in. It looks ugly and it looks heavy. So before I do much more, I'm just going to sand the head, get that little mission out of the way. Now we can, if you've got a lot of wings, the Mark 1 Flaming Turner paddle, which has been out for 16 years. I've been using this one for about 16 years. Velcro glued onto a bit of 4mm, 5mm ply, Velcro back paper. It's what we use down the museum for the kids. And then the kids' fingers are well clear of everything. It's useful for just rubbing round the very edge. If you don't want to get your fingers anywhere near it, it's ideal. So I should have put a patent on this a long time ago, but we didn't.
You could have been a millionaire by now, Keith.
Well, no, let someone else take the credit for something that they think they've made or designed. But, I prefer to stick the digits in. So that was 120. This is still 120, and I can roll my fingers around. I've been clouty too many times when I was working, so it's not an issue.
So the undercut underneath the head, Keith,
Yep.
is, what do you go to, about 10 million or a little bit less?
Oh no, I should go further in yet. But while there's strength there, I'll sand the top.
Oh, okay. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you've got a lot of meat there to get a decent finish on it. So that's 240. The worst bit, I don't know whether, yeah, I've just got a ring. You can just about see it there,
Oh yeah, I can see it, yeah.
where the heel of the spindle gouge caught it. Always a problem when you're putting a bit of a profile on it. Let's get rid of it. So that's back to 120. We go on to 240. And then a bit of 400 to finish it off. It's too dangerous to put Yorkie grit on this with all the bits hanging out. You're going to end up with paper towel flying everywhere. There we are. A reasonably finished head. Bring the tool rest back in. Make sure it misses. Yep. Right, carry on going deeper and deeper. Bring the speed back up a bit. Don't know whether you can see the back of the chisel, and I've ground the heel off there. So there's two corners there. Doesn't really show up. You can just see it. See the different colour where the grind is at a slightly different angle.
Yeah, you can see it on the camera.
Yeah.
What's the idea of that then, Keith?
Reduces the length of the bevel.
Right, I'm with you.
I could go down to about 4 mil, 3-4 mil, eighth of an inch on the end if I wanted to. Once you got the bevel rubbing, the rest of it will follow through. The bevel on this one was probably about 12 mil. So I've basically taken 6 mil, left 6 mil and rounded the bottom 6 mil off. That gives me access to get into a tighter corner without the corner digging in and marking. Useful if you're going and doing a lot of tight radius bowls, because I still do it on the bowl gouge. It's not solely for a spindle gouge.
Right, I'm with you.
Hopefully this isn't too loud. If it is, it won't be for very long. So I'm using one wing at a time to go down the side, the round radius one to go around the bottom, just to give me the depth. Another thing folks will notice, that I don't keep moving the tool rest. Wherever I'm cutting, I'm making sure that the final cut in the centre as I run off is at the centre. Doesn't matter so much around the outside. As long as the bevel's cutting, you can cut fairly high, as long as you don't cut underneath. So all the time you're running around there, I'm cutting at 22. It's bouncing well. I think because there's a knot in there. Yeah, bit of funny grain and a knot. So put it up onto maximum warp factor 15 and cut across that. It's quite often a problem with gnarly bottom end branches that you're going to get an issue with knots. First one in square, the second one nearer the head, I'm pointing up at about 5-8 degrees. I don't know whether you just about see that on the camera.
Yeah.
That's square. That's the angle I'm going in at. That a quick lick and a promise in there. Now it's going clockwise. It's coming over towards me. So if I put my fingers in there and hold them below centre, I'm sanding at about 25 past. And I can move in and out there. I've got the paper folded in half. Just about see it. So I've got the fold inside. Drop the speed down so that the paper's cutting, and I can get right the way in, right the way out. And then the other side, I tend to wrap round my finger. I still go in there with the speed a little bit lower. Like I say, I think this is around about 500-ish. It's totally guesswork. And this is 120. Don't need to go over the top. Make it like a 78 record with knocking it down with 80 grit. I've got a nice finish off the chisel. It didn't need a lot. That's pretty good straight off of a bit of 120. There's just a little bit down the bottom there. Right, over to 240. Exactly the same. Tuck my fingers on the inside, hold them low. And the gap I'm working there is about 2 inches, so there's plenty of room. I'm on the trail inside. It does make me cringe when you see someone on a piece of wood like this sanding up here. The wood and the edges are going to come over, clout the finger, break the finger. Not a good thing.
Especially if sandpaper grabs.
Yep. So I'm holding the paper between thumb and first finger, so I can pull that, and that's well locked. So it's not going to move. So I've got total control of the paper. Exactly the same on that side. Between thumb and the first finger joint, I've got it locked in there. So that was 240, 400, and if you double the paper, you've got a better chance of holding it. You don't need miles of it. This is about 2-inch strips folded in half. That's more than controllable. And that gives me straight off of the paper a good finish. Headbutt the camera. It's still there. That's fine. Right. Sanding sealer. Get a bit of paper first. Shellac based. Watered down about 30% with meths. Doesn't get up your nose. It evaporates. It's what we always used to use before any of the modern celluloses was out there. You just need to make sure you don't get any tears on it. Wipe it off. Exactly the same on the inside. This one is a Mylands one, but Terry does it, I think. Not absolutely sure. But I usually buy it by the 5 litres, so I don't tend to want a lot very often. Surprising if you thin that down 30%, you've got another pint and a half. Just need that to dry off. While that's drying off, is there any questions in the chat?
No, not really. There was a question from Douglas Monroe asking what wood it was, so I just said it was yew. Typed in
branch yew.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of chat about the crown tools,
right?
People have got, and Terry from TJ Turn put. Oh no, sorry, read wrong question. Can't remember who it was now. Someone said about that they bought some high-speed steel crown tools. Is it M42?
Yeah,
And they hold the edge really nice.
yeah, I've not had a problem with them. I'm not affiliated to any specific tool. I can use whatever I fancy. I've got Crown. Don't know what that roughing gouge is. It's so old that there's no indication whatsoever. Second-hand one. I know my parting tools and Ashley Isles only because I can read it on there still. But I just bought the blade and put it in my own handle. God
Richard,
only knows. Yeah, God only knows what that one is. All it
KJ,
says is something steel. There is something on it.
Richard from Spinning Wheels is saying that Chestnut are now doing a shellac sealer, sand and sealer.
Right.
So I suppose that's very similar to what you just used.
Yeah, this is shellac. It's just I like it because you can keep thinning it down. It doesn't evaporate as quick as what a cellulose one does. And you were saying that you have a bit of an issue with cellulose, that it tends to go gloopy.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, the shellac doesn't, ironically.
Oh,
No, wood wax, believe me, it is wood wax 22. Just about see it. Yeah. So, don't want too much. Enough to just cover the surface. Again, a lot of beginners and some advanced will think, oh, it's not got a lot of wax on there. I better put a bit more on. You're better off putting on 2, 3 coats or more, building it up, than whacking on one thick, heavy coat, which is always going to be an issue to get rid of. You'll end up with wax burns on there, but wax lines on it. So just letting the paper sit on it. And again, I'm working at 25 past on that, 20-25 past on there. So the paper's being pulled all the time. If the paper got caught, it would be pulled out of my fingers. There's no weight going in there. There's a finish. If you're not happy with the finish, if you want a bit more gloss on it, you can give it another coat. I generally only give it one on the lathe. If management's not happy with it when it goes indoors, there's the wax. Give it another go. She generally does, but we normally wait till we get to the first craft show and we put it out. And she says, "Oh, that's a bit dull." You know what to do. One mushroom. Let me come over onto the different camera, and it should be that one. Right.
Nice and shiny.
It's not a bad finish on that, is there? All I should do is just cut the pip out, put that on a little disc sander, which I've got in a separate chuck, I'm not going to keep taking chucks off to do that, but that's the first one. Fair bit of grain in the top there.
Very pretty.
You can see what I mean now about it being oval.
Will that darken off a little piece being new as well?
Oh yeah, depends where it's put. If it's put in a window, it will do quite a lot. But if it's tucked away out the back of beyond, not necessarily so much. So must be slowing down. 36 minutes. I've got exactly the same. I've got a tenon cut onto it already. So all I'm going to put it into is and these are gripper jaws. You go back onto the top camera. I think. Come on. You can just about see the edge of the grippers there.
Yeah.
So, as long as it doesn't bottom out, which it doesn't, tighten it up. Now this is slightly smaller, but this one's got one branch in the side. So all the waste off of that last bit was barely an inch.
So if you was doing these as like to stock up your stock, would you just go along, put all the tenons on the end of them, then just go do all the mushrooms and then just finish them off at the end?
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I cut the lengths, which are generally 6 to 7 inches. There's another one ready to go. So,
you had a question.
Go on.
Mark Pritchard, question: what grind do you use on your bowl gouge and negative rake?
The bowl gouge that I was using was a spindle gouge, if that's what you were talking about. But they're all the same. My bowl gouges are 45 and the spindle gouges are 45. It's exactly the same Pro-M. You can see the difference in depth of flute. But they're both got the double bevel on them, and they're both ground in the same jig at the same setting, which is near as damn it is 45. Works for me. Now, some people say, oh, you want 40-40, you want 40-50. Oh, I prefer 50-50. Whatever works for you is the right grind. We all hold tools slightly different. We all present them slightly different. Although at the end of the day, we should be presenting them with the bevel on. It doesn't always work. But, I find the bowl gouge is slightly too deep on the wing to get in underneath of these. So the 1/2 inch, I think it's the 1/2 inch spindle gouge works for me. So hope that answers it, Mark.
Yep, I believe it does.
Right. Now, as this has got a branch in the side, I'm going to start roughing down with the spindle gouge. It's got a less aggressive cut. Than the spindle roughing gouge. If this was virtually a true round, I wouldn't have any problem at all going straight in and attacking it with the spindle roughing gouge. Now, I'm not cutting fully open. I'm cutting at about 10, between 5 and 10 past. So it's a slicing cut. So I'm using as much of the side of the wing, just about see it, as I am the nose. Right. Now we've got down there, I should be able to up the volume a bit, pick up the bevel. The only reason I've gone over to the spindle roughing gouge, and this one is 1.5 inches, is because of the mass of steel it's got. About as far as that one I go. I haven't adjusted the height of the tool rest at all, so all of it's been cut on the same one. So coming round the side, hopefully you can follow the cutting. See me just about finishing right at centre. So if the tool rest was even lower, to finish at centre, I'd just drop the handle further. The handle controls where you're cutting with you driving it. So the only time you need to be spot on centre is when you're spot in the middle of the dome of this mushroom or the centre of a bowl, because that's the piece that doesn't go round. Let's go back onto that camera. Just chasing round, lifting the handle a fraction to finish dead on centre. There's no pip, there's no hole, it's just a nice transition between the edge. There's just a little bit of work to do on there, it's a little bit rough there, and where I got that chatter, there's a little bit of thread in there, quite often the case, not enough to worry about, but soon come off with a bit of 120 grit paper. So go back onto the overhead. Come on. Third time lucky. Yep, there we go. It's funny how it doesn't always want to pick up. This crack, you can just see it, goes 3/4 of an inch in from the edge. All I did with that the other night when I realised which pieces I was going to use was just to drop some super glue in there, and again down the bottom where I should be cutting through it for the base. So I'm just going to go one more light cut round this edge to see if we can true that up and save me a bit of sanding. Chisel's lost its edge. Oh yes, that chisel had lost its edge. Sharp chisel, and we got whiskers off. Makes all the difference. Got rid of that horrible chatter as well. Exactly the same grind, different chisel completely. Can't be bothered to go and sharpen the other one. Now this is an Axminster, short-handled. Again, 1/2 inch or 3/8, not sure. More or less the same profile. Like I say, the only thing I can guarantee is it's got the same grind angle on it, and it's got the same secondary grind. Get past that nasty knot. Yeah, it's got the secondary grind on there, exactly the same as the other one. And most of my chisels will have. I find it that much easier. So if any of you are particularly doing bowls or doing a bit of spindle work with tight cove, you might want to consider doing the same. Doesn't take anything away from the cutting edge. The cutting edge is exactly the same. The bevel remains the same, just that you're putting on that second bevel to get you further away on the radius of it all. Now I'm below the rim all the way around, so it's easier cutting now. So I can go back to the spindle gouge, get a little bit further in. Right, drop the speed down, sand the head while there's still some strength in the stem of it. Now, particularly with you need to sand at a lower speed, lower revs per minute than what you turn. You don't want to generate any heat in the U, regardless of whether it's spindle as this or bowl. You can generate heat cracks. And once you've got a heat crack, doesn't matter what you try and put in it, it will still be there. You can flood it with super glue, there'll still be a heat crack there. Shouldn't fail, but it doesn't look overly pretty. The other thing is use fresh, decent paper.
Dry paper as well. I see so many people trying to sand with damp sandpaper.
Oh, it's a
Sandpaper.
waste of time.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to, unless you're going to do wet sanding with oil.
Yeah.
Forget it. This is Indasa. It's the Rhino grip, which has got a Velcro back into it. Comes in, well, I sell it in 6 different grits: 80, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400. If anyone's interested, message me. A lot cheaper than what you can buy Axminster's RB 406, which is just the cloth backed one. So if you're going to be doing anything, if you've got the grandkids coming around and you want to let them have a go on the Christmas decorations like I did the other week.
All right, so there's a question for you, Keith.
Go on.
Douglas Mullen. Can you fill the crack with black CA glue?
I can. I don't really need to. I filled it with clear CA glue and a little bit of sawdust. It looks more natural. There's no reason why I couldn't put a little bit more in there. Unless you're talking about the heat cracks.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the heat cracks, unless the black CA comes very thin, and I don't think it does, it will just sit on the surface. So you'll be paying a lot of money for nothing because it won't penetrate into the wood. I use medium, the Everbond. That's the red one, medium one. 3 of these 50-gram bottles on eBay for a tenner. Or you can pay £10 each if you're really rich. And providing you look after them, this one's got an expiry date. I think it says 24 on there. There's a 4-year shelf life. But what I was going back to say was, if you're going to get the kids in, make a sanding stick like this. You can buy the single-sided or the glue-backed Velcro pad. Throw away the loop, and the loop just picks up on there. If you've got delicate fingers and you don't want to get clouted, ideal for this sort of thing. I'm thick-skinned and thick-fingered and thick in the head, so I let myself get knocked around if necessary. I've just got a little bit on that X branch that was there where it's coming out. I don't know whether Christine and Michael are in today.
I haven't seen them.
No. Well, I know Michael ended up with fairly thin skin, because I know them fairly well, and he had to be careful sanding that if he put his finger there and got a knot, he'd end up with no skin on it.
Yeah.
Or a leak. Not what we wanted.
No, definitely not. Baz from Real Simple Questions is asking, you got any links, Keith? What are you asking for a link for, Baz? And we'll find out for you.
If it's porn, no, you'll have to do that privately, mate.
Oh, dear.
So there's the T40, I think. No, that was straight to 400. You can get me through my Circular Wood by Keith. There's message facilities on there. I don't really want to put a mobile number or an email address on here. My best method is actually by email, but I won't, like I say, I'm reluctant to put it on here.
Yeah, they can always
It's,
message you through comments in YouTube if they need to as well.
can they? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Like I say,
so Baz has put super glue. I've seen your kind of porn.
okay.
So that's the super glue. So it's
Well,
Everbuild.
yeah, it's the Everbuild medium, and it's the 50-gram bottles, not the 20. If you go onto eBay,
I'll see if I can find a link for it now and put it in chat.
there's probably 3 dozen different ones on there, different suppliers. So just find one that doesn't take 3 weeks to deliver. Right, that's the head sanded down to 400. We'll now refine and decide what we want for the stem and the foot of it.
Right. Medium, did you say, Keith?
This is medium, yeah. Yeah, they do a thin, medium, thick. I find them thin is a bit like water. The medium is a good, easy flowing medium, and the thick is quite gloopy. You'd almost think they want one between the two, medium and thick.
Yeah. Right, there's the link for the Everbuild super glue that Keith has used, or similar to what Keith has used. So,
Go on.
Steve Jobbins has asked the question, what's the best way to contact you about the sandpaper?
Going by messenger or contact somewhere along the line. Messenger initially, and then we can talk via email. So I find that so much easier. I'm an old fart, so I don't do technology. We had a little bit of an issue before we come on, but we got it sussed out. My issues are always technology related. If it wasn't for Dale sorting this out last week, I wouldn't have gone live with Rich on Thursday night, and I wouldn't have done last Wednesday's live. That's the trouble when you're nearly 71 and never dealt with technology.
Right. Keith, Steve asking me to put your link for Facebook in the chat. Would you rather me message him at private?
No, you can put Circular Wood by Keith in. That's not a problem.
All right, mate.
Or you can catch me on my own private one, Keith Greenfield, which gets more use than the other one, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. Right, 120.
All right, there you go, Steve. You got a compliment from Ben. You don't look a day over 65, Keith. That's from Ben Jamin.
Right, how old's he? A mere boy, I expect. You get some piss takers on here, don't you?
That's why we do it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Don't get any compliments when I go indoors. I'm sure you're the same, Steve.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
What time do you call this?
Yeah, only compliments I get is when we want something.
But we couldn't live without them.
No, exactly. But we do have struggle at times living with them. But we can't say anything.
No.
No. Right. That's 120, 240. And that's cleaned up a treat without me crying wolf. I've got a little bit of a ridge just underneath there. Yeah. I've got a bit of 80 up here just to get rid of it a bit quicker. Very rarely I use 80, but there's always a bit there just in case. It's gone.
So Terry Bray from TJ Turner has put, I'm 70 next birthday, Keith, and you look older than me.
Miserable git. I think we're banning. I think we're banning.
Is that strike one? That's strike one.
That's strike one, yeah.
So Steve Jobbins has put, thanks Steve, I'm 54. You don't look a day over 65. I'm an ex-plumber also.
Right, so am I. So yeah, that's why I jacked it in.
Mark Pritchard's put, my wife says every man needs a shed and every woman needs a man who has a shed.
Yeah.
Or to have a shed. That's about right, that is, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. Right, quite happy with that. It's got a little bit of bark, and I think I'm going to pick that off because what little bit's left is not worth keeping. It always looks funny if you've got a single bit, whereas if it's completely bald, no one knows any different. Right, sanding sealer. Bit of paper first. Kill that extractor that you can't hear, but I can. So a question for the chat. Are you happy for me to come in next Tuesday and do another project? Are you happy to come over and support me? I'm only looking for subs. I'm not looking for massive amount of thumbs up. It's always nice, but I'm looking at subs for the channel. And if you want to put a thumb up, that would be fine. But it's over to you guys. I don't need the practice, but I want to pass it on to you that do, you that are coming into it. And I don't mind passing it on to people that listen.
Right, everybody's saying yes. Douglas Milgram, yes. Mark Pritchard, yes. Duncan, yes. Right. Ian Ennard, yes. Yeah, I think you got yeses, Keith.
I got yeses, okay. So you're not going to get a choice next week, because I think that makes it too easy. I should be doing 2 different bud vases, little flower pots, weed pots, call them what you will.
Michael and Christine are in the background. They've been watching.
They've been lurking, have they?
Yeah, they've been hovering in the background. Welcome, Michael and Christine.
Hi, Chris and Mikey. Mike's seen me do this all before. but it's always worth watching again. Right, that's not warm, that's not hot. There's a little bit of temperature there, but not enough to worry about it shaking. It's dry. Just a bit of waxy paper, little bit of wax. Now I won't throw this piece of waxy paper away when I've finished. I will wax the bed bars, just blow them off, wipe them off and give them a quick coat of wax. It does two things. Makes it nice and smooth, like a wood turner's bum, and stops it rusting, particularly this time of year. Now, I'm barely touching that. The paper's just literally flicking over it. And once that goes in, Sue will then give it a quick polish around the outside, maybe give it a wax, but I don't think she will. She's not up for too much work at the moment, so part that off, turn the fan back on. It does stop me eating some of it as well. So straight in with the one furthest away from the article that you're turned, and then at whatever you want, 10, 15 degrees, I'm aiming up towards the middle. As simple as that. If we go on to that one, it's the one that has just come off. And that is the first one. So they're both irregular, but with the grain and being new, they're really nice. So
I got a quick question from Richard Pritchard. No,
right.
Richard Spinningwood, sorry.
Right.
Was that just normal wax you used on the bed waste, Keith?
It's what's left of the Wood Wax 22, which is all I used on that. So rather than throw the paper straight in the bin, give that a quick wipe. You don't even need to wipe it off. You can leave it on there. So.
And another question from Robert from Hodgepodge Woodworks. Do you do anything to the bottoms before selling them?
Yes, I'll just sand them off, give them a coat of sanding sealer and a coat of wax. Now, can either use a 3-inch disc sander, or if I go exceptionally deep, get carried away, the flap wheel actually goes in the dish. So there's several ways you can tidy it up. But that's it, guys.
Very nice.
Today's work with 3 other ones. So it doesn't matter what size you go. feel this bloody thing.
They're nice because none of them are exactly the same. They're all different, aren't they?
Well, they always will be because you're doing it out of a branch and you're keeping the natural edge and the
Yeah.
bark on some of them. That one's got the bark on it. It's even
Is that
got
a bit of fruit? Is that a bit of fruit tree? That one.
No, it's a bit of yew again, but
bit
it's
of
got
yew.
the worm in it as well.
Right.
So it's not a problem. So it's good practice. Like I say, if you can find a quarter mortise chisel, an old mortise chisel, can you see the grind on that?
Yeah.
You can see the shape a bit more there. But, like I say, I grind it back at 30 degrees and back at 30 degrees. It doesn't matter what the bottom looks like. It's not anything special. It's a scraping tool. So rather than resharpen that now, a couple of passes on a diamond on the top of it is all you need. Back to new again now.
Nice.
As simple as that. So any old tool. So you don't want anything too big. If you've got a quarter mortise in chisel, old one, if any of you do car boots, as long as you've got enough length in it. And the most critical bit is the amount of metal that you've got there between my thumbs, just as it enters the ferrule. You don't want anything too thin, otherwise it'll break.
Okay. So you got loads of good comments.
Lovely.
Let's start with the beginning. Richard Spinningwood, thanks Keith. Robert Dolman, nice work Keith. TJ Turning, they look great Keith. Mark Pritchard, thumbs up. Richard, Robert Dolman, thanks for the interest in live Keith. Really good demo Keith, very nice pieces. That's from Richard from Spinning Woods. Jiggy Sheds, they look great Keith. Andy Heath, very nice Keith, thanks. I must add this to my repertoire, bye for now. And then they just said bye to Andy. Ian Lennards, they look great, Keith. All look good, Keith. Thank you for the demo. So some really good reviews, mate. All really good comments.
Good. Well, thanks, guys. I'm doing it for you, not for me, because as you can see, I know basically what I'm doing. And I've had a little bit of practice in the past. Haven't been turning totally for 30 years, but I've been turning seriously for probably 7 or 8 years. And just still only hobby though, but I have demoed at club, and that's in front of 120 people, and most of them know what they're talking about. Some of them are only there, yeah. Well, some are only there for a social and coffee, so you never quite know. But it's a nice platform to be on. All the time I'm getting the response that I'm getting, I should keep on doing it. Like I say, I've got a few things that I'm going to do. Once I exhaust that list on the St Laxminster, I will go then on to the bigger stuff on the polewood. But I think for most of you being newbie turners, which I believe you are, it's easier for me to show you something small on the smaller lathe than to throw that big 22, 24-inch disc on and spend an hour and a half hollowing that out into a bowl. We all like to make a big bowl. Once we get going, everyone wants to make something big, just to prove that they can do it. The maximum I would put on this lathe would be 7 by 2. So that's still a reasonable sized bowl in anyone's language. But you're loading the bearings, and you don't really want to do that, although they're easy enough to change on this. Quarter of an hour and I can knock them out and put a new set of bearings in, and the bearings are less than £20, so it's not a remortgage job, not on this one. Some of them are a little bit more complicated, But these are quite simple to work on. I'm very unfortunate that this one's got the variable speed, so run it more or less at maximum for the turning, and then drop it down to the minimum on the belt range that I've got for sanding. And if you can remember to do that, particularly on the likes of you will get better results.
So Richard from Spinner's put, I really appreciate your insight. Please keep doing lives, Keith.
Thank you. Well,
Karen Dolman says thanks to you and I. Enjoyable demo. Klondike Craftsman says 25 years for me. He's been turned, I reckon. Mark Pritchard is a great craft, especially when there are lives on. Thank you all so much, Mark. That's what we're here for. We try and keep you entertained. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but that's all part of the entertainment.
Yeah, well, Steve and I were talking about it before we went live. Are we on to totally entertain you? This is a serious hobby. I have seen bad accidents through people not paying attention. You only want to drop a lump of wood on your foot or inadvertently knock a chisel off and it land point down in your foot. I've seen and heard of them. I'm doing this on a serious side, but on the jovial side. Yes, I can appreciate it's dangerous. I just want to pass on some of the knowledge that I've got and acquired over the years to some of you people. And if you don't ask the questions, you will never know. You can sit there and watch and think, oh, now I can see how he does it. But can you? You can't see all the way around the chisels. I'm gradually getting a new set of cameras. Like I say, I'm hoping there's a couple on the delivery chain today for me, which are part payment, which I didn't really want, but I've got them coming for a funeral urn, cremation urn. But hey ho. So if there's no more questions, Steve and I can sign off, or we can keep going.
Just quickly, Keith, before we go, are you all right if I put my link in for Friday night?
Yeah, by all means, mate.
Right, so Friday night, as you guys know, that I do a Friday night live. This week we have a very special guest. Stuart Farini's coming in as a guest airworm. So come over, guys. Pick Stuart's brain for any of your colouring questions. And I'm sure hopefully that'll be another a very entertaining live with Stuart on.
It will be. I can say I personally know Stuart. He is a fellow club member from down here. He belongs to two, but I think I was one of the first ones that he sort of stood and watched and thought, I can do more of this than what I'm doing. But he's never been brave enough to sort of say too much to my face about that. But like I say, I do know Stuart fairly well, and he doesn't live barely half an hour away from me.
He's one of the good guys, isn't he? One of the good
guys.
Is.
Yeah, he'll pass on what he's learning, and he's learning as he's going. He did a couple of open air events down the museum with me soon after he got started, and that's how we got to know each other. So I follow him, and I think he follows me when he can, but he's teaching. So it's only when he's locked down or weekends that he can get onto a live.
Yeah.
No, good guy. Worthwhile watching him and banging a few questions at him.
Definitely. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get someone with a lot more intelligence than me on the live once a month. So that gives people a chance to ask people questions who they wouldn't normally be able to ask them to. So hopefully that's going to be a new feature coming.
Well, to be honest, a lot of people are reluctant to ask questions because they don't want to make themselves look a prat.
But there's no
And
stupid question, is there?
well, the only stupid question is the one that no one answers.
Well, yeah, I suppose this is true. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. But I'm happy to answer all of them, either jokingly with a serious side or totally serious side. I'm proud of what I do, and I know Steve's proud of what he's learnt and he's doing. That's all I can say. Without the likes of you guys in the chat there rabbiting on.
If they weren't there, we wouldn't be doing it. Easy as that.
Exactly. Yeah, but you can talk amongst yourself, and sometimes there's comments that go in the chat that never get picked up, and I think that's frustrating for me at times. You see, not so much mine, but when I look at others and when I'm involved in others, but only as a spectator, you put a comment in the chat and it just totally goes without even, oh, yeah, Keith just mentioned something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. If there's a question, then I'll try and. I mean, obviously, you don't want to know when you're doing it. When the airworms are doing a live, they don't want to know. People don't want to repeat everything that's said in the chat. That's just pointless. But if there's a question, and if someone said to me in one of my lives, say, Steve, try and approach it from a different angle, or try passing the other way, then if I'd like one of my airworms, or I would think that one of my airworms would suggest that.
Yeah.
And that's the part of having airworms, because obviously when you're turning, you can't keep an eye on the chat.
No, so, and it doesn't always work that way, Steve, I'm afraid.
Right, okay. Well, if that's happened in one of my lives, then all I can do is I apologise.
Yeah, it's happened in one of your lives. I've made a comment and it's gone unnoticed. By the time you finished and you're off air, there's no point in making an issue out of it.
No, well, I apologise, then, mate. I didn't know that.
No. But I think in nearly every live, more or less every live, there's some comment that doesn't get picked up.
Well, we need to.
Richard's saying, I know what you mean, Keith. Yeah.
Well then, guys, I apologise, and we'll try and make it different.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I want the lives to be as much interaction as possible. That's the idea of doing a live.
Yeah. Interact sensibly with decent answers, not some that go around.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I say, once now I'm on. Now I can do this, and I've got a decent setup. I can actually sit indoors and do it as well. Perhaps I'll take over one of Steve's lives and worm for him. But I don't like worming with 3 or 4 others. I would much prefer to do it on my own or just one other.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm starting to do. So,
yeah.
But we'll see. Well,
putting it out what the 2 of us are looking at doing. And I think Mark's the same. He doesn't want too many people in here worming. He would much prefer it to 1 or 2 at the max.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm doing mine now. So the Friday night will be 2 airworms. And then once a month we'll have a guest airworm in. So obviously that'll be free. But obviously the guest is just there for, to make up. He's not there, just there for a bit of fun more than anything.
Yeah.
And then
just get away with the 2 earworms even on with a guest.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Otherwise, you get too many voices in the background.
I see. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've said I really only want one. You can talk over each other and nothing is heard apart from what sounds like the playground squabble.
Yeah. And to be an airworm, you're here to concentrate on the live.
Yes.
And to do what the person's live is, you're there to support them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. If you want to have fun, there's times and places for that. But rant over.
It's not a wrap, man. It's about getting the channel right. It's about making everybody happy what's happening.
Yeah.
And if it means that we have to go to 1 or maybe 2 airworms per live, then that's what we have to do. Because in the day, we do it for the entertainment, for not just for us to do it, for the viewers as well. Because if the viewers don't watch it, there's no point us doing it.
No, exactly.
So
Exactly. How many did I have in today, Steve? Any idea?
I see about 35 at one high point. That's when I was checking. But whether I
That's
went
good.
above that, I'm not sure.
No, I can check on the ratings later on. I'll see, I've still got 20 in here listening to us having a rabbit and a bitch, but that's
Yeah,
what it's all about, isn't it?
definitely.
You know, we can soon wrap it up if there's no one there we're talking to.
No, exactly. Oh, TJ Terry said that it was 36 he saw.
All right, well done, Terry. Thank you. Yeah, Nikki is a great earworm, yeah, but she's working at the moment, so Steve's relaxing.
I wouldn't say I'm relaxing. I wouldn't say I'm relaxing. Sit on the sofa, my feet up, half asleep.
Oh yeah, so you are. Yeah, he's got his pint of bitter with him.
Oh, not me, mate. I'm teetotal. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, right. Well, I think I'm going to hit the off button, mate. If that's okay with you, and unless anyone's got anything
It's a very good live, mate. Very good live.
that they want to quickly bring up, like I say, I've got nothing booked in. I'm retired, so I know Steve's working, but he can't work at the moment, can you?
No, I'm waiting for tiles.
Right.
Good old B&Q delivers when they should do. You know what they're like.
Yep. Yeah. Total lockdown, but we'll come out tomorrow. Yeah, I know.
No, these ones they've delivered into the wrong store.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
Everybody's just saying thanks for the live, Keith.
No, that's great. I mean, like I say, next Tuesday, same time, it's going to be 2 different shaped style bud vases, weed pots. Call them what you must. They still end up the same. So I can stand up and I can read it from here. Plus, I'll get a bad back if I sit awkward. So that's why you're only catching me nose in the corner.
Oh, we missed a question from Mark.
Did we?
Yeah, Mark asked, what's the biggest piece you've ever turned, Keith?
I have a 30-inch by 2.5-inch Macrocarpa fire screen indoors. The Lennykins, that's a new one. Haven't seen that name before.
Was a good watch, Pops.
Yeah.
She must know you.
It's daughter. Okay.
I was going to say it must be relative.
Yeah, I just read the second bit. Yeah, she knows how I can talk. I've done a couple of 3'3" diameter Macrocarpa wall hangings. Both of those sold, but I still have the fire screen indoors. So that was on the Axminster M790, 970. The predecessor to what Scott now and Mark Scott. Literally swing the head 90 degrees over the front, put the tool rest on the left of the motor, slide the motor along to the middle, and just work your way along. So, and at the moment I've got can't see it. That baby. That's 22 across, just shy of 3 inches thick. There's a fair bit of weight there. That one's sold. I've just got to do it. I've got a 16 by 2.5 inch on the other lathe that I'm working on. So I'm not sitting around doing nothing. And the most odd one that is 6 bits. You can just about see the bits glued been laminated together, not very well. That is 6 bits of, no, I won't remember the name, but it's ex Brighton Pier. It was the slats across Brighton Pier. It's a yellow wood, yellowy orange wood. I've got to make an acorn out of that. So all I've done is put a hole in the bottom to take a dowel. Now I've got to make an acorn finial. I've got 11 of them to make for a fence around part of the museum complex. So apart from that, no, not doing much. But that'll have to go on the big lathe. That's too much for this little Axminster. I don't want to trash the bearings for the sake of it. Right. Got the extension kit for the Axminster 406. Can't wait to get a big piece on that. Don't go too manic with it, Mark. Work out how you're going to do it and drop the speed down to nothing or as low as you can get, and make sure it's on low drive as well. So he's working on that rather than talking to us at the moment then. Oh, that's Pete.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so Pete's had to cut something down to 28 because he couldn't fit it anymore. Yeah. So if you're all game, guys, I'm gonna hit the button, go and grab a cup of coffee, and see you next week. So, all right, Steve?
Yep.
Got anything to say before you go? Except
No,
bye?
no. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on Friday, if not before. So have a great week.
Cheers, mate. And I'll catch up with you later. Well, we'll chat just after we finish as well. But
Yeah.
I'm hitting the button now. So cheers, everybody.